A Maidstone family are fundraising for potentially life-saving cancer treatment over in America for their 4-year-old daughter, Nellie Rose Culleton. Nellie Rose has been undergoing grueling treatment for a little-known cancer called neuroblastoma, which is a rare disease affecting around 100 children here in the UK every year. Well, this afternoon we're joined by Nellie Rose's mum. It's Leanne Lines. Hello, Leanne.
Good afternoon.
So, can you tell us a little bit more then about your daughter, Nellie Rose? How did this condition materialise, and I guess what signs were you first picking up on?
Okay, so in the beginning, I would say it was about January time last year. Nellie came home and she kept walking like a penguin. And obviously, where she's been at nursery and stuff, we was all laughing, saying, "Oh, she's walking like a penguin," and we was doing it too. So that was all fine. And that stopped, and it never really happened again. Then one night, I got her out of the car. We was visiting my mum, and when I put her on the ground, she couldn't walk at all. And then we sat on the sofa, and I noticed that when she went to move off the sofa, she had to actually physically lift her leg. So I said to my mum and my partner, "This doesn't feel right. Can we please take her to the hospital?" So we took her to the hospital. They done an x-ray. They said they can't see anything there. They sent us home and said, "We'll put you through to an orthopedic consultant." Then the next couple of weeks while I was waiting for this appointment, she wasn't really herself. And the morning that we went to go to the appointment, she couldn't move her neck either. One thing led to another. Her infection rates were very high. And the next thing we knew, we was having an MRI at a different hospital. It was at that point that a few doctors came in and a nurse came in, and she said, "I'm just going to take Nellie to the playroom." And the doctors told me that they believed that she had leukemia because she had lesions on her hips.
Wow, that must have been a bombshell moment for you.
I can't really put into words. I don't really remember much about that day. The only thing I do remember is that I'd cried so much, my head, all I can remember is the pain in my head. I couldn't quite work out what was going on. And Nellie stayed in the hospital with her dad, and I came home with my partner. And I remember just sitting there, just numb, and thinking that can't it how could that happen? That can't be right. That surely not. So in the meantime, we've booked her an appointment to have a ultrasound scan on her stomach. So that was fine. Went to have her ultrasound scan, in which they found a 13 by 14 centimetre tumour in her stomach, which was attached to her right kidney and had been growing since birth, which meant that it was wrapped around all her main arteries and organs. And they confirmed that she didn't have leukemia. She had stage 4 neuroblastoma. We had another test there, and they confirmed the only place that the cancer hadn't reached was her brain, her hands, and her feet.
And so this is a cancer that only affects 100 kids a year here in the UK. So it's not that well known. I guess your first reaction, or one of your first reactions to this kind of diagnosis, is, what the heck's that? What's neuroblastoma?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before. Like you said, it only affects 100 children in the UK a year. It's not, unfortunately, we all do hear of leukemia and brain tumours, but I'd never heard of this cancer before. My first question was, is she going to die?
And what was their answer?
They said that we need to just treat her immediately, which of course is not what a mum and Nellie's dad was there to. That's not what we wanted to hear. We wanted to hear, no, she's not going to die. It's okay. And it was a very big blur. We were sent the next day up to St George's Hospital in London, and she was taken down to have a biopsy of her tumour, and she had her double Hickman line inserted, which is a line that's inserted on the side just by her rib cage, and that goes into one of her main arteries, and that's how she receives all her chemo.
Wow, I mean, that's such a big operation and such a lot for for a 4-year-old to deal with.
Yes. Obviously, she'd never been under anaesthetic before. And she was walking and moving her neck fine on the way to the hospital. She was even singing in the car on the way there. I remember being with my partner, and I kept saying to him, they've got it wrong. I said, she's not sick. There's nothing. She's fine. Also, the day that she was diagnosed was the day we went into national lockdown. So as you can imagine, the hospital was a complete panic. And everything had changed, and they was moving things around, and there was different procedures that they had to follow. And the surgeons were incredible with me. And I'll never, ever forget watching her go to sleep. In that time, another consultant came to me and they said, we've reviewed her case. We need to start chemotherapy today. So I said, that's fine. I agreed. And they gave me the forms that you have to sign. Obviously, I had to give them consent. And at that point, I realised that I was signing consent for medication that could alone kill my child. But if she didn't have that medication, the cancer could kill her.
Those are such big decisions. Can I ask how Nellie was through all of this?
Do you know, she'd never really asked a question. She was absolutely fine. She was very happy. She didn't think anything of it. It was when she came up from surgery and she had her first chemotherapy, she just went completely blank. She wouldn't look at me. She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't drink. And there was absolutely nothing I could do to bring her round. And it was really, really difficult, because I myself was struggling, because I didn't understand how this had happened, or what I had done wrong, or if I had done something wrong. And I suppose she was angry and she was upset because I'm meant to protect her, and I'm sitting right next to her when she's going through all these horrific things, and I'm not stopping the people that are doing it to her.
We are Maidstone. Maidstone Radio.
Welcome back. And I'm joined on the Home Time Show with the mum of Nellie Rose, who's a 4-year-old child who was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Now, this cancer affects only 100 children here in the UK per year. Her mum is Leanne Lyons, and she joins me once again. Thanks for holding on, Leanne.
Thank you.
So, to complete the story you were telling us earlier, Nellie Rose has had the treatment, and the good news is it's been successful.
Yes, so she had chemotherapy. Then she had a 7-hour operation, which removed the tumour. And they managed to remove 98% of the tumour. She had intense chemotherapy. She's had a bone marrow transplant, and she had 5 weeks of radiotherapy every day.
Wow. How did she cope with all that? Or actually, do you know what? How did you all cope with all that?
It was really difficult, but in the scary times that we was all in, the hospital became another home to us. And from the minute that she had her first operation, I just sort of soldiered on. I thought, she's not crying. She's not saying I don't want to do this. So I can't sit here and say I don't want to do it. And she soldiered through every single step of the way. And if I'm completely honest, she led the way. It wasn't me. She led the way. There's a story that we tell in our family now of when her stepfather came up to see her at the hospital, and he had to sit outside the window, obviously, because of COVID. And she was talking away to him, and the chemo she was on was so strong. She was so violently sick, but then she just carried on talking to him. She just wiped her mouth and carried on. It didn't faze her. It didn't bother her. And she's still like that to this day. She's not once complained, and she's not once asked why.
Good news is, after all that pain and the distress, the chemo has been successful.
Yes, it has. We have had confirmation from her consultant that she is cancer-free. So she is currently on immunotherapy, which is to try and delay the cancer or stop the cancer from coming back. And that finishes in June.
Now, you started a fundraising campaign for Nellie Rose, and it's for treatment in America. And this is because, well, there is a chance that the cancer could return. And if it does, realistically, Nellie's survival chances are quite low.
So Nellie's original chance of survival was 40 to 50% of long-term survival. If the cancer comes back, that drops dramatically to 10% chance of survival. Having heard those figures from my consultant, my mind went into overdrive and I started to research, and I came across a vaccine that they do in America. So this vaccine, the only way I could really describe it is a bit like the flu jab. So it's given as a jab in the arm or a fatty piece of the thigh. And it's like, the only way I could really explain it is putting a new motherboard into a computer. So it's basically trying to retrain Nellie's cells not to allow that cancer to take over again.
And so your fundraising campaign is just basically to pay for that vaccine treatment over in America.
Yeah, correct. So there is 7 vaccines in total. So this treatment would take about a year. So it would mean coming to and from America. So we have a target of £182,000 to raise. We're currently on £104,449, which is absolutely incredible. But we need to push on to get the last just over 77,000. As from the moment that Nellie has her last treatment scan, we have a window of 40 days to get to America, or she loses the eligibility to go for the vaccine.
And what would getting Nellie this treatment mean for you and for Nellie?
It's very hard because you don't have to have this vaccine. Obviously, it's a clinical trial, so there's no proof that this vaccine might or might not work. But as a mum, seeing her go through this and being told that if it comes back, she's got less than 10% chance of survival, I feel like it's something that I couldn't not do. After 5 years in remission, the chances of the cancer coming back drops dramatically. And I find myself wishing away the next 5 years of our life. And I think that's quite sad because she's due to start school in September. And you're meant to, everyone says to you, enjoy every moment with your child, enjoy every day. Yet I'm wishing 5 years away. So I just clutching at straws really in order to make sure that she lives a long and healthy, happy life that she really deserves.
And what about Nellie Rose today? What's her day-to-day like? Is she almost back to normal?
I'd say no. Physically, she's doing extremely well. She'll go out on her scooter. She can handle a little bit of walking. I'd say mentally and emotionally is where it's taken its biggest toll. She used to be extremely confident and outgoing, and now she's very nervous and anxious. She hates to be separated from me. And I feel like it might have just taken a tiny bit of her sparkle. But as each day goes by, I do see that coming back. And that's why I'm pushing so hard to get out to America as soon as possible, as soon as we can in June, July, because then she'll be back in time for when we start school. And I really think that that will make a huge difference to her.
Okay, so if anyone's listening and would like to donate some money, can you tell us about the fundraising campaign and the fundraising page?
Yeah, of course. So we are doing all of this through a charity called Solving Kids Cancer. So the website is www.solvingkidscancer.org.uk. And if you do /appeal/Nellie Rose, that will bring up Nellie's campaign. She also has a Facebook page called Nellie's Army, which has the link to her campaign on there. And there is also a text code which you can text Nellie Rose and any amount from £1 to £20 to 70085.
And finally, Leanne, I guess I need to ask, how are you coping?
At the moment, I would say I'm okay. I can't say that after that 5 years goes and we have hit the mark where the chances of it coming back drops, that I won't have a breakdown, but that's okay.
You're in campaign mode at the moment.
Yeah, as long as I don't break down now, I think I'll be all right.
Well, Leanne, I wish you all the very best and all the best for Nellie Rose. Listen, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me.